Alright, we've got the power system out of the way, for the most part. Anything beyond what we already have right now, I assume is going to be more of the setup for, like, when characters are going to be, like, somebody significant, somebody stand out, because we have, like, the 8 basic Vigor colors. Anything beyond that clearly is going to be, like, rare character exclusive. Like, we see in this chapter a little bit about Smith, and how he's got rainbow vigor, and I guess like just a rainbow kind just lets you mix them all together, just have like a multitude of them, and it says like you can have, I think 7. It says a rare type vigor that equates to homeostations of 7 colors. It was really weird because it says he can do 5 types, but I mean that must mean that he can do 5 individually, and a rainbow he can do by itself. He can't combine rainbow, I would assume, with other ones. Like rainbow, in the theory of it, is just like an attack of, a multitude of kinds. You can't really defend against it. It could just be essentially the idea of a unfair power, just raw power. Because the whole concept of it, it's just a raw energy attack. You can't defend against it. It doesn't seem to have nearly as much of the large scale, like, utility that the other ones have. Like, the chapter starts out with, we had Kopu, he's saying how he found out what Tonkachi's vigor is, and it looks like Tonkachi and Renga both are going to have very significant vigor. I think that's just something that a lot of people have assumed. Since near the start of the story, that the main characters are going to have something specific about them that's special. I would just say main character powers, because it's like you're seeing it from their perspective. Obviously, there's going to be something extra about them, and we got the whole vigor system pretty much established, put in there. I really like the whole vigor system. Everybody right now that I know that it's gotten caught up with Build King, regardless of like the odd premise. Like, I can understand why building and everything isn't a regular thing that somebody's gonna want to be into. I like it from the go, just because I think like cool fantasy architecture is cool by itself. Plus, I like the mangaka already. I know he's really good at action, art, and like world building. So a lot of stuff we're setting into some pretty good checkboxes for me. But everybody that I know that's gotten caught up with it, that's been reading it, likes the vigor system. It's just one of those things. There are people that just genuinely really like a structured power system, and especially when you can get really early to kind of understand it. I think it's just fun for a lot of people when you're able to wrap your head around the concept very early. I'm fine with either. I can go with like a very free-based power system to something that's like very structured, very kind of set. I'm okay with that ever. As long as the series is good, I'm pretty cool with it. And I've obviously been hyped up on Build King since the start. But Kopu and Nana are like talking, is like, something about Tonkachi's vigor, but we have the information available. There's some characters in this chapter as well that we're hinting at, the significance of it. Unfortunately, we didn't get the reveal of whatever it was. I'm guessing we're going to get it within the next chapter or two, just by the way that the end of the chapter was. But at the same time, they're talking about like how they don't have time for that. Nana's like, why is Satan Hill's army doing here? And I like the big house. I think they're the Annex soldiers, because they have the A on them, whereas the ones that the build on is using had the B. So I'm guessing that these guys aren't. These are like mechs and not like real house beasts. Either way, I like the designs of them a lot. Some of them are really cool looking. Like there's one that just looks like a nautilus, which it's like this big weird undersea mollusk that moves around entirely with like an air propulsion. There's like one that's like a big scorpion. There's like this weird onyx looking one. There's a lot of really neat ones in there. I would love to see just in general, like, go about its business and whatever it does. I'm guessing that the main ones are going to be the ones, the ones in the front rather, are going to get the most spotlight, which is understandable, but I'm hoping I can at least see a panel of some of these other ones. I don't need to see exactly like what they're fully capable of, but if I can at least see the design of it up close, that'd be really sick. But after that point, like, Smith's just there. A lot of characters are coming in, and they're like, oh, we can't kill the 2 kids, referring to, I would assume Tonkachi and Nana, or sorry, not Nana, Renga, but, there's this weird dude, Harabuyo, just some random goon. He's just like, okay, then that means if we can't kill them, we can kill Smith then. And he uses just a vigor cannon, just large weaponry on, like, his mech, and that's when Smith ends up using, like, green roof, makes like this really cool wall and roof set with his vigor, and he's able just to completely block the attack. And we know Smith is strong we've only been really getting some good understanding of Smith's level of strength in the last couple chapters. Since we got the scene when he was talking to Tonkachi, and he's like, oh, you just have a ton of vigor and you can't really control it, just like when I was a kid. I was just like, ever since then I've been like, okay, this guy definitely is way more powerful than I thought. And it's escalated in chunks since then. Like, people have been really hyping up Smith every single time that we get a chapter, like, since then. And we see him also pull out the Rainbow Vigor. I like the Rainbow Vigor in, like, the concept. I think it's just really cool if you just have this one style, like, I'm sure there's more weird variants, but, like, one is just, like, this very simple style. It's just a mixture of multiple kinds that you just can't really block, which is really cool. And I imagine there's going to be a way to block it, probably whatever Tonkachi's Vigor is. Like, I'm theorizing maybe in the ideas of it being, like, black or white, something kind of just, like, weirdly different from, like, the basic colors. And if colors are the thing about it, you know, the easiest ones to kind of have as, like, outliers to the whole color system are, you know, the two that are more shades than anything. Even though white and black are called colors, like, they're obviously the shades. And you have the concept of it could fit easily with Renga and Tonkachi. So hopefully that's going to be the case. I'm guessing Renga's is white, Tonkachi's is black. It could be the reverse of it. It could be something completely different than those colors. But we'll see. Maybe like a clear Vigor or something. But I feel like the idea of, like, black would just be... It's just one of those really easy ways to give a character, like, some cool hype. I mean, I'm sure everyone's... You know, think of characters where they have, like, a similar thing. You know, a similar kind of, like, aggravated power set with, like, this badass, you know, black, way more serious aura to it. You know, you look at, like, Ichigo or, like, Asta, or even somewhat, Deku with his black whip and stuff, where you just have the spookier looking kind of powers. It's made to look a little bit more devilish, but it's on the good guy, you know what I mean? Either way, I think it's going to be really cool just to see the reveal of what it is in general. And then obviously, like, the expansion of their power system. But I think that the black and white Vigor also hold a little bit of weight, because, like, one of those, just the things in Toriko was, like, some of the, like, the cell colors, like gourmet cells, and, like, we had, like, black cells and white cells. And some of those things we didn't really have explored much, just because, like, the end of Toriko was getting rushed. So maybe Shimabukuro was taking some of the concepts and wanting to reutilize them to, like, a better means, and, like, whatever ideas he had that he wasn't able to implement, and figure out a way to re-put them in the story. But then, like, you have all these goons jumping down from you know, the mech that Smith ended up blasting with his ratchet launcher. And then all these goons just get chopped up because Satch has made, like, these, essentially a rubber band of Vigor, and he's just pulling it back and then letting it go, and that's just expanding into, like, a big linear blade that's cutting a bunch of these, like, fodder guys. And Smith's even just like, wow, he is terrifying, because this dude's supposed to be one of the 10 edifices, and I'm guessing that's the highest rank in Build On, probably, like, right below the you know, the leader guy, the master builder, whoever is, like, their head. I can't remember his name. It was like Don something Suplex. Either way, you know the guy I'm talking about. He's doing air chairs, like, continuously. You know, doesn't actually need a chair. But I really like this panel that I wanted to use in the chapter, mainly because Hakka's looking legitimately very intimidating. Like, he has this spooky vibe to him just from his whole set. Like, he's got the whole weird battle damage, but he's somehow fine. Like, but it adds that level of shading to him. It's torn his clothes up, so you can see just more of his general build. And I think that combined, like, his badass hairstyle. I've liked his hairstyle since introduction. The shading around his face and the ominousness around him, that just makes him look more badass, like, across the board. But when Tonkachi is going against him, like, there's nothing really he can do. Like, we saw the fight between, like, we saw the moves between Hakka and Smith is very clearly, like, powerful. And Hakka was able to take even the red clothes on. He went flying into, like, a big cliffside. You see, like, the attack just keep going, pierce all the way through, and then Hakka is able to get up damaged, but still able to fight. And he's mentioning about how Tonkachi and Renga have special vigor, and that, you know, like, it's one of the things that I've been wondering since, like, the start of the series, is what exactly Tonkachi's main character thing was really going to kind of level out to, because the aspects of, he's very strong, like, he's got, like, the bigger hammer. Like, I was thinking maybe it was going to be the hammer, just because, like, it has to do, like, it comes from Shovel. We know Shovel's a big deal. So I was like, well, maybe it's going to be, like, the combination of something about Tonkachi and the hammer at one point. And now we're seeing that he's just got his, there's something special about his vigor. Something special about Renga's vigor and stuff. So we're going to get more of like, that explained, I would assume, in the next couple chapters. And giving us, in general, what, like, the realistic look at things are. Because we have, like, the basic ace. We have the 8 basic vigors, and then, we're gonna get, like, variations of, we've seen, like, Rainbow. Like, we could even get something like slight offsets, maybe, like, evolved rare versions. Like, maybe instead of yellow, it's gold or something. But the ones for Tonkachi and Renga, I'm just guessing are gonna be, like, black and white. Something outside of the color spectrum, just because, the color spectrum is clearly something that, Shimabukuro is setting up here with, like, the general concept of how, the vigor system works. The color system is clearly going to be part of it. But when it comes to this, there's like, well, how exactly is it going to, like, play into Tonkachi's role? And how is it exactly going to play into larger scope? But, I mean, that still hasn't been revealed yet. We're waiting for the exact words to come out. People are hinting at it in this chapter, but we don't have, like, an outright explanation. But I did really like the moment with Konoichika in this chapter, because I wish his name was easier to say. Well, his name is easy to say. I wish it was, like, more, I don't know, a little bit cooler. Just Konoichika, just, I don't know, it sounds almost like more of a Pokemon rather than, like, this dude who's potentially going to be, like, a combat welding builder dude. But, his backstory and, like, what we got from him, like, I believe that he's going to be similar to that of Tonkachi, but more for like Renga's style of being like the super builder rather than like the powerful fighter who can build it and stuff. That he's gonna have a lot of vigor because he's bringing up this whole past to, like, we know that he is from this country where it's just garbage, and he wants to become like a really good builder so he can go back and fix it up and make it a better place. And in the concept of him and like where he's coming from and the fact he's one of like the contestants, like the examinees or whatever you want to say it, that was like a high value watch. And it more to me is that he's from like a very dangerous place, and that he probably became much better than like your average person would be just based off of starting in like a higher level of difficulty. It's similar to how, like, when Tonkachi beat the Nail Bowl and smashed the Coliseum, and he's like, well, the House Eaters were way easier than this. So it's just like you're used to a higher level, so, operating at a lower level is going to, would be a breeze. With him, like, we see that he's like, oh, I can't be worried about how weak I am or afraid. There's always going to be weaker people than you and stuff, and you can't let your weakness and everything, and your, like, how if you feel insignificant, you can't let it go to your head, because there's always someone below you. And even if there's somewhere higher than you, that just means that you can either pick. You can either go lower, you can stay where you're at, or you can go higher. In, like, the general concept of it. But in his setup right there, he's just like, it doesn't really matter, like, if I'm weak, I have to try. I have to at least put in the effort. Just because I'm weak, just because he's weak, if he doesn't go to do anything and something happens to Renga just because he doubted himself and he wasn't even willing to attempt, then that just makes him a weaker person. But right when Tonkachi goes in for the hit on Hakka, Hakka just dodges, uses this brown lock. Brown is the color for vigor, for elasticity. And, like, we know that he's essentially, applying the opposite. He's taking away his flexibility, so it's just like a body locking move. Which, again, easy to understand because we know how vigor works. Thank you, Shimabukuro, for letting us understand your power system works so you can easily start getting into stuff like this without just having a million questions. But when he's talking, he's like, okay, he's gonna take, I'm gonna take his vigor, referring to Renga, but because Renga was taken away by Konoichika, now Hakka's annoyed. He's probably gonna chase after him. Maybe we get like a cool battle, like a game of catch up. But I don't think so. I'm guessing that Tonkachi is gonna fight Hakka, because the thing right now that Tonkachi has in his battle against Hakka is Hakka's already somewhat damaged from getting hit by Smith, so he's gonna be starting out a bit weakened, and Tonkachi is gonna, what I would assume, have his like main character power kind of like flex and defeat Hakka, because at the end of the chapter, like you get a really cool moment with Konochikin. He's running away with the Ranga bubble, and he's like saying how he's going to use his welding stick, and I'm wondering exactly how that's going to work. Is it going to be like he can just put vigor into his, like, is it going to be like I don't know if it'd be like vigor weld or whatever it would be, but if he can just like use it to such a degree, such a ridiculous degree, with like a ton of vigor into it, like just like a big attack, and maybe cut open the bubble, like that would just be really neat, and obviously speak for the dude's type and stuff. But at the end of the chapter, you have that short bald guy with like the the mask on, the weird hair. He's just like, oh, you don't want to get those kids worked up, or else the Build King will have to make his move. And I'm wondering what exactly that's gonna like entail to. Is he like how is what he said relates to Tonkachi? Like, maybe Tonkachi has aspects of his vigor, or at least the rare vigor he has is like part of the vigor that goes into the Build Kings. Like, maybe like the Build Kings themselves weren't just made by like amazing builders, but it was like the people that made them had some ultra rare vigor in of itself, and Tonkachi could be, somebody who has that. Because I would assume it would be like a couple of people in the world that would have that. Obviously Tonkachi, main character, it would fit for him being in there. But at the end of the chapter, you just got this panel. I was very happy with this. Tonkachi looking beastly. He's flexing. He's got like all these veins popping. The shading on him looks cool. He's looking mad. And you have like the brown vigor that Hakka put on him is starting to like bubble on his back. Like some of it's not even attached anymore. It's like almost levitating. And he's just furious. You can see that rageful look in his eye. And I'm guessing in the next chapter we're going to get like an explanation of what's so special about his vigor. But also, I actually really want to see it now, of just like a main character flex chapter. Because though Hakka's strong, like there's nothing to say that like he's out of Tonkachi's reach to defeat. Plus, he's hurt already. Like, I mean, like if he wasn't hurt, it'd be like, okay, given like if he just took Smith's hit and was fine, Tonkachi beating him would be like, I don't know if he's this much more powerful, unless there was something very specific about Tonkachi's vigor that would let him defeat him. I mean, it might not even be Hakka who he fights. But I think it's the perfect opportunity in the next chapter, just based on where they are, because like Tonkachi, I would assume, is going to get free of that brown lock, and then with Ranga gone, like he's free to fight like all out without any form of he doesn't have to worry about getting Ranga caught in any form of attacks and stuff, and like Hakka's right there. So like Tonkachi, my hopes is like the start of the next chapter, Tonkachi gets free and is just ready to throw hands, and he's ready just to beat the hell out of Hakka. I want to see some mad Tonkachi, some fury, because we haven't seen him this mad before. I'm very excited for the next chapter. But anyway, other than that though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this chapter. Tell me your thoughts about what's going on in Build King and how you would like to see things progress from here. I just can't wait to see. I can't wait to see Tonkachi just go ham. And I'm hoping he ends up putting the shovel head to use and figures out a way to utilize that. But anyway, other than that, comment below. Thumbs up the video, friend, like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.